All right, let's move on to designing a hat for the W13 model. We're going to do that in Autodesk. We're going to use this shape and revolve it. The hat is eventually going to look like this right here to go over the head of the W13 humanoid model. So let's get started. What you can do is go up here and say File New, and then you'll have the option to select metric and standard millimeters and hit Create. Now, the shape that we want to work on here is this one right here, which is 17.9 by 13.3. So let's do that sketch, and we can do that on the XY plane. And what we're going to do is make this rectangle up in midair. So not really aligned with the axes. That way I can kind of see all of the edges. So again, 17.9 by 13.3. And this one was 13.3. Hope I got that right. I think it might have been 7.9, right? So you can just double click on that anytime you want to make a change in the dimensions and make it look right. So let's double check that, 17.9. Yeah, okay. So now what we're going to do is make sure that the hat has some curvature to it. Although it doesn't really have curvature to it, it more like has a chamfer on it. So we're going to find a chamfer in the Sketch tab. It's located under the fillet. So go under here and chamfer. And let's go ahead and select, let's try 3 millimeters. And you want to select this edge, and you got one chamfer. And then you can hold down the hold down the mouse wheel to pan over and do this one and this one. It's starting to look like the shape of the hat a little bit. We could add some more curvature to it, but let's just stick with the model that we're working on. Now, we don't want this to be a solid object because it really needs to have a hollow area in there. And so the thickness of this right here, as you see over here, is 0.75 millimeters. So how do we get that in there? What we need to do is make an offset from this shape and pull it in. We're going to use the offset tool under the sketch tab, click on this entire boundary and bring it in. Now at this point, what you can do is click anywhere. And then if you hit the dimension tool and go like this is where you set it to be 0.75. You see it puts a boundary all the way around there. Now, if we try to revolve this, it's going to put something in the middle that we don't really want. So we really need to bring it down so that it looks like this, so that there's no line right there. Anytime you want to delete something, you just click on it like this. Oh, need to be outside of dimension mode though, so I hit escape. Select that line and hit delete. And we also want to close the shape, so I'm just going to pull this down here. So I'm going to zoom in and show you what I'm doing. I'm going to pull this down until it locks right into that position. So then I have a closed shape. I'm going to do this one right here as well. So we're going to click and drag until it gets down to that part right there. All right, that looks pretty good. Now let's see how the revolve tool is going to turn this into a hat. So if we hit 3D model and click on revolve, we can select one of these shapes. And of course, the shape we want to get is this outside one right here. That's the profile. And then for the axis, we want to select this bottom axis down here. And you see it's trying to rotate it all the way around to make a shell. But we only want it to be 180 degrees instead. Like so. Then you click OK. And so if you orbit around here, you can see you got the inside of the hat. That's a very simple hat. Of course, we want to make it more stylish and curves using fillets, but we're just making one for the crash test dummy. Now, we'd also need a brim on the hat, or we can, I guess we can make it any kind of hat we want. But I'm going to follow the model that we've downloaded here that has the brim that looks like this. So all we need is a closed shape out here on the front that kind of looks like a cat with two ears, actually. And so we need some curvature there and then a closed shape. And we'll extrude that 0.75 like we did before. To do that, we're going to orbit under the bottom, so holding the shift key down and holding the mouse wheel down to orbit around, holding the mouse wheel down to pan over, and we're going to sketch right on the surface. So right click, new sketch, and let's just close in a shape over here. So normally what you can do is project the geometry, but I'm just going to do something really simple, like just close in the shape like this. And let's see if I can get it exactly over here. Sometimes you can pull this up. See that dotted line hanging in there? You want to get it right up there until it's perfectly horizontal. Then you click that, and then we need to close the shape. So it's not closed until I go all the way around the perimeter to this point. Now let's see if this is something that we could extrude, um, just to check. And you can see that it is a closed shape, so we only want it to be 0.75. But who wants a hat like that right there with the corners on it? So we'll hit cancel, and we'll put some style on here, curves. So on our sketch tab, we can go back and change chamfer over to fillet. And we're going to put a fillet right here. How about, I wonder if 6 would be too much? Might be too much. Let's try 4. Look here and there, and then there and there. Closing out the fillet. Looks a little too blocky for my taste, but if you like that, you can do it. You also can grab this and make it a longer brim if you want to. But I'm just going to pull it back in here to kind of look normal. So grabbing that one, you notice that I'm clicking escape here every now and then to get out of certain selection modes. So here's the extrude that we wanted. Again, we only wanted it at 0.75, and it looks like it's going the wrong way, as you see that right there. So we're going to flip it and go that way. And so there is our hat, just like that. We've designed it to be very similar to this model that we downloaded. You could also put these notches or I guess bumps in there if you want to, but those are to kind of lock into the side of the head of the W13 model. So those are bumps that are right here that kind of go into the ear area. I don't really know if there's an indentation inside of this head for that, but probably that's there just to create a little bit of friction so the hat doesn't just pop off. All right, I will see you in the next video. Oh, by the way, if you wanted to 3D print this model right here, we'll first need to save it. So let's go File, Save, Save As, and we're going to put it down here with the other ones. We've already done a wrench, a sword, and now a hat. Have the cap locks on, just like that. And so to 3D print it, you would go under Environments, 3D Print, and then you can see it's a fairly tiny hat down there at the bottom. And you would save it as an STL file. All right. And then what you would do is you would upload it into your software. And I wonder if I have a version already loaded up here on the plate. May or may not be able to see it here. Actually, it's right there. So you can't really see it very well, but that's one of the hats. There's some swords and wrenches over here. See a lot of glue left over on the surface. Let's see if we can find another printer that's printing it. This one has about 9 minutes left. I think it was having problems earlier. It looks okay. You can see the hat right over here that it's printing. All right, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.